Hey old man, this isn't the janitor's meeting room. The voice cut like a razor through the sleek glass of the 42nd floor executive boardroom. Mitchell Crane, the smug CFO of Dyer Holdings, stood at the head of a polished mahogany table, his words slicing into the silence. By the door, an elderly black man, wearing a faded navy blazer, scuffed shoes, and holding a worn folder, paused. His posture was calm. His face lined, but dignified. Mitchell sneered, grabbing a water glass. Security must have let you slip in. Here, let me help. A splash. Gasps. Water dripped down the man's chest. He wiped his face. Slowly sat in the empty chairman's seat. No anger. No words. Just quiet eyes that met Mitchell's with unsettling calm. And the room, suddenly, felt colder. Mitchell chuckled, shaking his head as he paced in front of the projector screen. See? This is what happens when we don't secure the building. Random people wander in and think they belong. His smirk lingered. I mean, look at him. Coat from the 80s. No name badge. Doesn't even speak. Executives exchanged glances, unsure whether to laugh or stay silent. The tension in the room thickened. The old man said nothing. His hands rested atop the folder in front of him, fingers interlaced. His wedding ring glinted faintly under the LED lighting. Mitchell pointed at him. You've had your moment. Now kindly leave. This is a strategy meeting. Not a charity event. But still, the man didn't move. His stillness wasn't ignorance, it was intention. A younger board member, Jason Kim, leaned toward his neighbor. You recognize him? The woman shook her head. Then quietly, the old man opened the folder. Inside were clean, crisp documents. Legal papers. Financial transfers. Nothing sloppy, nothing outdated. Mitchell didn't notice, he was still monologuing. Some people think money gives them access. That anyone with a few shares can sit at this table. But let's be honest, there's a certain standard we all expect, isn't there? From the back, murmurs of unease began to ripple. The old man finally looked up. His voice was calm, low, but clear. You seem very confident, for someone who doesn't know who's already bought the table. The room paused. Mitchell blinked. Excuse me. The glass doors swung open. Sandra Boyd, the company's chief legal officer, stepped in, white folder in hand, her face pale. Ladies and gentlemen, she said, breath uneven. Let me introduce Mr. Elijah Carter. She looked directly at Mitchell. The new majority shareholder. And as of this morning, your boss. The oxygen seemed to vanish from the boardroom. A few executives shifted in their seats. One dropped his pen. Mitchell's jaw twitched. What are you talking about? He stammered, suddenly pale. That can't be right. That's impossible. Sandra stepped forward, opening the white folder and placing the documents on the table. The acquisition finalized last night. Mr. Carter now holds 62% of Dyer Holdings. He's your new majority owner. Mitchell took a stumbling step back, eyes darting between the papers and Elijah's unreadable expression. But, why didn't you say anything? Elijah rose. Deliberate. Controlled. Each movement a silent statement. I don't announce my worth, he said. Especially, not to men who think they can measure it by how much dust is on my shoes. Gasps rippled. A few executives looked down in shame. Mitchell opened his mouth, then closed it again. He glanced at the glass of water, still damp at the base. I didn't know who you were. Elijah's gaze didn't soften. You didn't care to know. Sandra's voice cut in, firm now. He saved hundreds during Hurricane Arlen. He's led 6 major turnarounds. He was the youngest executive at Marlowe Equity. And you just threw water in his face. Mitchell looked as if he might collapse. Please. Mr. Carter, Elijah, if I had known. Elijah's stare held steady. You had your chance to see me. But you only saw what you feared. Not who I am. The room was dead silent. No yelling. No threats. Just truth laid bare. Then Elijah looked down at the chairman's seat, the one Mitchell mocked him for approaching, and gently placed his hand on it. And at that moment, every lie about power, status, and skin tone crumbled like dust. Elijah didn't sit. He just stood there, one hand resting on the leather chair's back, firm, unmoving. The very seat Mitchell had mocked him for approaching now became the symbol of everything reversed. Sandra remained at his side, holding the signed acquisition forms. From this moment forward, she announced, Mr. Carter assumes full executive authority. All decisions will run through him. Whispers spread like wildfire. Executives who had chuckled minutes earlier now sat stiff-backed, their faces frozen. No one dared meet Elijah's eyes. Mitchell, drained of his smugness, tried to salvage his crumbling image. Mr. Carter, listen, I deeply regret what happened. Let's just chalk this up to a misunderstanding. A bad assumption. Elijah tilted his head slightly. You made an assumption, yes. But it wasn't just bad, it was revealing. Mitchell's lips parted, reaching for words that wouldn't come. Elijah turned slightly, facing the room. There's no need to fire anyone today. Not yet. But understand this, respect isn't optional here. Not anymore. The tension cracked. Some execs lowered their heads. Others slowly nodded. He walked to the door, Sandra beside him. At the threshold, he paused once more. His voice, soft, but unforgettable. The thing about water, he said, glancing at his still damp shirt, it dries. A beat. But disrespect? That stains. Elijah stepped into the hallway, leaving the stunned boardroom behind. He didn't look back, not because he was dismissing them, but because he didn't need to. Inside, the silence lingered like smoke after a fire. Mitchell remained standing, one hand gripping the empty water glass, eyes locked on the seat he once ruled without question. Executives slowly stood, not from obligation, but from something deeper, respect. A quiet, uneasy respect for the man they had failed to see. Sandra turned briefly to the group. You'll receive transition memos by the hour. Mr. Carter believes in order, not chaos. He's not here to humiliate anyone, only to hold this place to a higher standard. As the door closed behind her, Mitchell sank into a chair. Not his old chair. Just a chair. He looked down at his reflection in the table's polished surface. And for the first time, he didn't see a leader. He saw a man who'd mistaken arrogance for authority. Outside, Elijah walked calmly toward the elevators. He straightened his damp blazer, adjusted his wedding ring, and exhaled. He didn't need applause. He never had. Because dignity doesn't shout. It just walks away, and lets the silence do the talking. What would you have done? If this story moved you, subscribe for more.